What's going on, everybody? Dogman Dan here. We are in Warframe, and we're gonna just kind of talk over the Devstream 74 a bit, if you will. Gonna go over some of the things that are going on. Of course, we know Loban Prime releases today on May 17th, so we'll get into him first here and kind of talk about some important things if you don't know what's going on, and then we've got a few other things that happened inside the Devstream. Trying to cover these a little bit if I've got time. I was asked as well about it, so yeah, I've done a couple of these in the past. Let's get busy. So the big thing with the Loban Prime, we know it's releasing today, and they've gone ahead and they've updated the bounce ability to kind of have the Ivar Quiver treatment. So now the bounce ability can have 4 different options for crowd control and damage dealing abilities. So let's just quickly talk about it. So of course you've got your original bounce grenade, which stays. That's the number 1 part of it. The number 2 in the options is a trip laser, which will create a 10-meter long laser where it'll affect the enemies determined by their movement state. So if they're running, they'll get ragdolled, and if they're walking, they'll get staggered and stumbled, which can be good in many situations. They'll also get, in number 3, you'll get a shred grenade, which will reduce enemy armor, as well as launch and ragdoll enemies. Okay, and then the number 4 option will be a concussion grenade that deafens enemies and creates a radial stun effect. So there's a little bit of everything going on in here, which really is going to make Loban Prime have some really nice abilities to him, if you will, in just the bounce alone. Of course, I believe the other 3 abilities are actually staying, which are pretty damn good abilities as they were. This one did need a rework, and now we're getting a rework with it. This will be regular for both. This will be available for both the Prime and the regular version upon the rework, if you will. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so next up, let's just quickly top on the TennoCon. TennoCon's coming up on the Thursday night, May 19th here. They'll be doing some reveals, but we know it's coming up in July, so if you want to get up there, get up there. That's all I got to say about that for now. Now, next important thing that happened in here, we're talking about the passives. They've introduced, passives for some frames. Well, now they're going to be introducing passives for all the frames. I got some ideas or some thoughts on some of these that I'm going to talk to you about here. This is coming at the end of May on PC, but of course it'll be later on console. We don't know when yet. Obviously, it's got to come out here with U19 first or so, and then it will release later whenever they're done getting everything together and cleaned up for consoles. It's the way it will always be. Don't know why people still ask when will it be out for consoles. We don't know until it happens. So these passives are kind of a work in progress, is what they were saying. So not everything is set in stone, and I hope so, because there's a couple really good ones and there's a couple of just junk ones. So we've got Ash. Which they're saying it's got an increased timer and damage on the bleed proc inflicted by Ash. Okay, I could see that, I guess. I'm not sure how effective that is, but yeah, I mean, increased timer on the damage and damage with bleed proc, not a bad thing. For Banshee, I do like their suggestion of all weapons that are equipped are automatically silenced. That's actually quite nice. Can be very useful, but at the same time she's got her sonar and silence and whatnot, so you can silence anyway. But I like it that it would be an automatic passive on any weapon, which would be one thing that you don't have to mod for in terms of weapons. Ember, I'm not really sure about what they're talking about here. It talked about energy regeneration and damage dealt are increased when Ember suffers a fire proc. Well, how often are you going to be standing in fire? I mean, I'm just saying. Sure, the enemies can shoot at you, but it's not often that you suffer a fire proc from an enemy unless it's a napalm per se, but are you going to really stand there and take the damage from the napalm just to be able to put damage back? It doesn't really make much sense. And tile set wise as well, how often are you on a fire tile set? You know, so I'd like to see that one be changed around. Hydroid, a ground slam melee attack that has a chance to spawn a single tentacle from his ultimate. I could see that being pretty cool, depending on the situation. That could be good. I don't see that being a bad passive at all. Limbo, they've got nothing definitive, but they were talking about something increased fire and reload rate within the rift. I think that they would really have to come up with something else. I mean, Limbo in itself has some need for ability adjustments or minor reworks, if you will. I mean, he's a great frame, but he does need some changes, and I think they should focus on that before they focus on this passive that right now doesn't look like it would be much. Loki, not finalized, but they're talking about no fatigue on the wall clinging, if you will. So you can hop up onto a wall and hang there indefinitely. I kind of like that. Not sure how effective it would be, but I think it does suit Loki if they go with something like that. Mag, they're talking about within a certain radius that when you're bullet jumping, items can be pulled towards her. And that's kind of cool, I think, maybe. But that's just kind of like the carrier effect on a run and jump, bullet jump type of thing. So you're just adding the carrier effect to Mag. So I don't know how. I personally like to probably see something different there as well. Necros seems to be pretty good, where all enemy deaths within a radius will restore his health. I like that idea. That's a pretty nice one. Nova releasing an antimatter explosion when knocked down. That's not a bad one as well, especially because she can get knocked down pretty easily if you're not running the correct mods. But I kind of like that as a passive, so once she gets knocked down, an antimatter explosion, not a bad thing. It actually adds some kind of crowd control, if you will, around you. Nyx, they're talking about disarming enemies while affected. So I don't know. I mean, obviously it wouldn't affect mind control until after mind control has ended on an enemy, but for all the other enemies, a possible disarming. I mean, that just kind of takes away from Loki disarming, right? But Nyx would be possible disarming, not always disarming like Loki does. But there is that ability there. Now Oberon, they haven't said anything in stone, and I'm like, I don't really know how that would work, because they talked about discussion of animals and wildlife fighting for him for a certain period of time, which the environment doesn't have wildlife in it other than the Cavouts and the Kubros, and sure, I could see that where they're fighting for you, but that's a pretty small chance that they're going to be in an area where that would actually mean anything. I mean, sure, against Grineer could work great if they're talking about animals and wildlife fighting for you, so you know, the Kubro's turn, or the Feral Kubro's turn on the Grineer. But they're already against the Grineer now, so what's it matter? So I'd like to see something change there, I think. Unless they're planning on putting wildlife into the environment, in which case that would be kind of cool to watch, like some flytrap plant just suddenly come and eat up an enemy. That'd be awesome. Trinity, they're talking about faster revival of allies. With revival being triggerable from a farther distance. I can't talk. Okay, I guess so, but that really shouldn't be a passive. That should just be like standard on her anyway. She should be able to revive faster from farther distances. Makes perfect sense as the only real full support frame in the game, if you will. Vauban, the Warframes in range give him an armor bonus, and this passive being implemented at the end of May, and it will not come out with Prime Access. So he is going to get a range buff, if you will, with bonus armor, but it will be out obviously on PC, and then it'll show up later on consoles. So even though Prime Access is coming out, consoles are not going to have this this buff, if you will, or this passive until later on. And then finally, the Volt. The amount of ground you cover is converted into electrical damage on your next attack. That could be pretty good, based off of concepts in my head, anyway. Cover some ground and then you got more damage, but I don't know. I mean, it also can be useless as well. I mean, if you're in a heavy crowd control situation where you're not covering any damage or any ground, then you're not going to get any additional damage. So it seems kind of useless in that point. But we shall see what happens there. Now they got a market overhaul that they talked about, so they're overhauling the whole marketplace again. Supposedly better user interface, hiding items that you own, wish lists, search bars, all that good stuff coming into the game. So they're kind of opening it up for easier and better work for future items being added into the game. So it did need a much needed overhaul, but again, we shall see once it's fully implemented. In terms of Umbra, they're still keeping themselves silent with Umbra and the stuff that's going on. They did say that, you know, more or less it's going to be attached to an upcoming quest somehow. So they don't have a definitive update or release date, but keep an eye out, and they don't want to release any information because it would spoil the questing. Now, they're also going to go ahead and change the colorblind usabilities. They've been still having issues with colorblind players, and they're always working to try to differentiate between locked and unlocked doors. And it's been a challenge for them, so they're going to be changing around lighting. So that way you can, in the future, you can know a little bit better. So doors that are unusable will have no lights on them. And there will also be different patterns on the doors to distinguish between locked and unlocked. So you can see that in some of the graphics and pictures that they showed. I'll try to remember to put that on here at this point, just so you can see. So basically, they're going to make it so when a door can't be opened, it's dark with no lights on it. And when it can be opened, it'll be one color, one pattern, and when it is open, it'll be a different color and a different pattern, so it'll be easier to distinguish what's going on. Hopefully that is a quality fix. I think it's a quality fix for blind players, and I think that's one thing that DE has always done well, is they've incorporated and thought about that for colorblind players. So that's always been a great thing. Now, Arcwing Racing. There's a new flight mode that'll be coming out in U19, and it'll be released. They'll also have introduced 6 degrees of freedom, more or less, is what they're saying. The new game mode will be added as well, including Arcwing Racing and a large ship battle. So that should be interesting to finally see some kind of Arcwing content coming into the game, see if they've polished it up a bit, and so forth and so on. And we'll definitely cover that, see how that goes. The Fairy Frame that is coming out is currently within a design council voting, and that will end on May 23rd for the full voting for the official name to be released. I'm not going to leak what is the most popular one right now, but I'm hoping that that one stays, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, so design council members are voting. If you haven't voted, get yourself in there to vote and decide what the next Fairy Frame name is going to be. Weapon reworks and fixes. They've got a lot of stuff coming in Update 19 is what they're saying, so there's not going to be a sniper rework planned for the near future. However, there is discussion surrounding the lethality of all weapons in game and how they would define something as overpowered. So we're going to see how that plays out. The weapon hierarchy is necessary, but the top level equipment should still have their drawbacks. and be suited for certain types of play or missions, not all of them. With that in mind, changes and fixes are being looked into to help balance the damage and viability scale of weapons in game. So the only thing I can say to you is keep your mouth shut on what is the most OP weapons. Otherwise, you guys are going to screw yourselves. It's that simple. If you talk about, oh, this is the best damage weapon in game, this and this, and then you post about it all over the forums, damn well better believe the first weapons that are going to be nerfed, as the community would say, are going to be those weapons. So I would venture to say the Simulor and the Tonkor that everybody has talked about for months on end, that plays it over and over and over. Those are the weapons that are going to be first looked at. Future changes, they've got a lot of feedback, of course, and amazing help from everybody. Lots of changes, lots of different things going on. They've discussed a few different things in the Devstream. Nothing I really want to touch on, being that it's a 3-year-old game. There are things that were implemented in the past that perhaps would definitely be different today. And even though this was, they are 3 years in, they want to go ahead and try to go back on some of that and fix it. The upcoming star chart changes, though, show that they're not afraid to make a radical change to the game if they feel that it will improve the user experience. The existing disk format creates stagnant missions and does not communicate a clear way to progress between nodes. The Star Chart 3.0 will incorporate more character and lore into the existing mission and allow for better matchmaking and a new limited node system. Improvements such as these may also be done to other aspects of the game, such as large percentage buffs given to mods, or changes to Kubros and such. They're not saying that these changes are ever going to happen, but Warframe development always is an ongoing process and learning that process, so they're going to make the changes. That's why I've been holding out on any telling people or new players on how to run through the maps, because obviously if Star Chart 3.0 comes out, it's kind of a waste of having told you how to run everything on the current Star Chart system. And then finally, in this short video of mine, if you will, if you're still here, mastery level. They mentioned before changes to the mastery level system in regards to equipment level and such. As a way of rewarding experienced players, the weapon level will automatically equal your mastery rank at the moment you purchase it or create it. This system is still in the works, so stay tuned for more update in the future. Okay, that doesn't really fix the mastery system. So now I'm going to buy a weapon and know that the weapon's going to automatically be at level 21 or 22, which is kind of cool for me because it'd take me a lot less to get things ranked up. Pretty happy about that on the first. But what happens when you hit the forma? It goes right back to 0, or does it go back to automatically being your mastery rank again, and then you only have to level up that little bit? We shall see. Some quick housekeeping. We know Lucky Promo Prime, Worm Prime are gone as of today, May 17th. So if you haven't gotten in there, get in there before it's over. You have till 2 p.m. to get it done. And the second ever unvaulting will happen this summer. They're not saying what it is, other than it's not Ember. Gee. And Mag and Vault reworks are coming by the end of May, so keep up on that one. And custom melee holstering will be available in Update 19, which is going to be something to discuss a little bit more. Anyway, that's it for now. That covers basically everything that happened inside of the overview, or the Devstream 74. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Until then, we'll see you later.